The following podcast contains spoilers and words like piss, shit, and fuck. We watch the thing. We watch the thing. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to We Watched a Thing. How you doing, Dave?
I'm good, my friend. How are you?
That's good. I'm good because we watched something good, didn't we?
We did. One of the best things we've watched in ages, not to give too much away.
Well, let's get right into it then. No wasted time. We are, of course, talking about Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, a 2023 American computer-animated superhero film based on, of course, the Marvel Comics character Miles Morales / Spider-Man. The sequel to Into the Spider-Verse stars David Callaham, Shameik Moore, Hailee Steinfeld, Tyree Henry, Jake Johnson, Jason Schwartzman, Daniel Kaluuya, Mahershala Ali, and Oscar Isaac. And what is it about, mate?
Well, we rejoin our hero Miles Morales, I think it's about a year and a half after the events of Into the Spider-Verse. Although we do start off with Gwen Stacy, which was a nice change. But we're following our friends and the family dramas that both of them are facing. And then we encounter some multiversal shenanigans. Good old Spider-Man 2099, Miguel O Hara pops up along with about 5 million other spider beings. And some multiversal craziness ensues.
Yes, it does. I love this. As far as comic book films go, in this franchise, we finally have a decent use of a multiverse. Like, I remember shitting myself at how angry I was with Doctor Strange, and it's
that movie
pitiful use of a multiverse.
Sucked.
Especially coming out the same week or month or whatever it was as Everything Everywhere All at Once, which was incredible. Which you don't think so, but
oh, it was very, very good. I don't make it sound like I thought it was shit.
But finally, in this franchise, we have a good comic book multiverse happening. I love the way that the art styles change, and the way that it's not just like yes, there's a million different versions of Spider-Man, but they are all different versions of Spider-Man, and I love the way that this film actually plays with the concept of that and what makes a Spider-Man. What are these kind of core similarities that they all have? I think it's a really clever use of a multiverse.
And unlike Sam Raimi's stupid fucking movie, the Doctor Strange 2, they didn't feel the need for every variant to be absolutely off the chains bizarre. Yeah. You had, yes, so, they felt the need to bring back fucking Spider-Ham and bloody Spider-Rex and, some of the sillier variants. But by and large, and we'll get to it, but sort of intrinsic to the story is the similarities between them all. It's as should such a thing as a multiverse exist, it is variants of the same thing.
100%,
different decisions get made. There are slight differences. In one universe, it's Gwen Stacy that gets bitten by the spider, and how does that change the same characters and the different roles they play in that universe? It's not. Yeah. And in this universe, everyone's a rock, and in this universe, all the people are donuts and fucking whatever stupid shit. It was as grounded as something this obviously fictional and science fiction-y can be. Yeah. But you can get on board with it, and it made sense. And it was sort of intrinsic to the story that there are these interconnections between them all. As Miguel O Hara, that's his whole raison d'etre is making sure that the things that have to happen, and that all of these different realities eventuate in the way that they're supposed to. Yeah.
Yeah. This movie had a lot more heart than I was expecting too. The first one did, but this really, I think, this goes full Empire Strikes Back, middle of a trilogy. Things get kind of grim at certain points. I adore Gwen Stacy in this film, and I think opening with her story the way it does is really, really strong. I spent the first 20 minutes thinking, oh, this is going to be a Gwen Stacy film. And I think to a large extent it kind of is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very even-handed between the two of them. And she is, and I think for most people, she is absolutely my favourite character in these films. Even more than Miles. But I think they did a really good balancing act between the two of them and alternating the viewpoint between them. Kind of almost 50-50, really.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. And the kind of the parallel stories almost with their families, I think, work really well as well. Like, it's been a while since I've rewatched the first one. I don't remember Miles's family being such a strong component of the film as they are in this one. And also, I didn't know, I'm sure that you did, I'm sure that most people did, I knew that this was going to be a trilogy. I knew that they had announced Beyond. I didn't realize that this was going to be literally like a two-parter. I wasn't expecting a cliffhanger at the end.
I was when I looked at my watch and realized it had been 2 hours and it was literally just... and if there's probably only two quibbles that I have with this film, and one of them is that I think they dragged out that to be continued about 10 minutes too long. You could feel it coming almost half an hour before you finally hit the end credits, and I think that did drag a little bit because you knew what was coming. You knew it wasn't going to wrap all this up. I hadn't read that there was a third film. I mean, it's so successful, I kind of assumed that there would be more, but I didn't realize it was planned as a trilogy. But literally, 30 minutes before it finished, I knew that was what was going to happen because there was no way they were going to wrap it all up. Yeah. And then it kind of just like, okay, to be continued. Oh, no, there's another tiny little vignette.
Yeah, I do know what you're saying, yeah.
But that's a minor quibble.
Yeah. You said at the start of that you have two quibbles. What's the other one?
Oh, the other one doesn't really factor into the quality of this film. It's more... Okay, so Miguel O Hara, who's... I don't want to say antagonist, because let's face it, he's not a bad guy. He's doing the right thing. It's Miles who's a petulant little turd and not listening to his elders. But that's just my old brain siding with the mature person. But they make this big thing about how important it is that in all of these universes, there's a radioactive spider that bites someone, and every universe has to have one spider biting one person, or chaos ensues. But yet they shoehorn in. Well, Miguel O Hara, for starters, doesn't get bitten by a spider. That's not how he got his powers. Yep. Jessica Drew, so like the older Spider Woman, not Gwen Stacy, but the proper Spider Woman, doesn't get bitten by a spider.
That's true.
And
you
also
even see Peter Parker's baby, who
that I can give because the spider bite changes your DNA, so I can get on board with the fact that it may be passed on to a child because it's a genetic thing. So all right, fine, and that that
child is missing that core event though, which is what Miguel is so crazy.
Well, that's
about.
My issue is that they made such a big thing about the importance of the spider bite because. The spider
that's the only thing that Miles
is a thing. Yeah, it's that's from the comics. There is that they have teamed up on various sort of Spider-Verse and Web Warriors and various stories that brought several of them together. But the actual spider bite is kind of not the crucial thing. It's the fact that there is, I think the term is spider totem, but it's there's a spider being and. They have this weird importance across the multiverse that's kind of not ever really explained why it's just the spider people that are so important. But it's that focusing on how important the spider was and the fact that the spider from Earth 42 shouldn't have bitten Miles Morales and all this nasty stuff ensued, I think was a mistake in the writing because they then had all these characters who weren't bitten by spiders. They got their powers through. I mean, who's the Karan Soni one? Pravita Patgar or whatever the Indian version of Peter Parker.
Fantastic.
Gets his powers through magic and So if they'd left out the importance of the spider and not really harped on about it, I think it would have been better, because they had all of these other characters who were perfectly fine to be in the Spider Society, despite the fact that they were nothing to do with the spider bite. But that's my comic nerdness taking over, and it really doesn't affect how good this film is, because if I wasn't carrying all that baggage, it wouldn't bother me. And the film itself is not the poorer for it. That's just me being a nerd.
Yeah, Indian Spider-Man was so fantastic. That entire sequence in Mumbai was just amazing. We would be remiss, of course, to be this far into the episode already and not talk about the art style and the art of this film. So let's get there. This is a better looking film than Into the Spider-Verse, which is something that I didn't think was going to be possible. Like, what they've done here is astounding. The use of different mediums. So the film is obviously computer generated, but the use of the different mediums that they've used to create those textures and stuff, there's so many segments of this that are almost watercolor, like that beautiful opening sequence where Gwen Stacy is kind of fighting
her
with her
world
dad,
is
and the background
literally
melts into like
painting,
watercolor.
And there are whole scenes where the backgrounds are literally just daubs of paint,
just completely
structure.
Abstract.
And
yes,
all the focus is on sort of her and her father or whatever. And then you've got good old Spider-Punk Hobie, and it's all, never mind the bollocks, Sex Pistols album cover style collage with cut out ripped newspaper stuck together.
The way that they even
amazing.
blend the different styles together is what amazes me. The fact that you can have all these characters in one scene, and you've got, Spider-Punk there with, like you said, the kind of ripped collage outline. Yeah. You've got Gwen Stacy there and Miles Morales in there, more kind of traditional, and then you've got all of these other characters as well. Like that sequence where, at the start, where the multiple spider people are fighting the Renaissance vulture, and he's he's fully Da Vinci style. It's
like origami. and
yeah.
even referencing it like you're made of paper.
What are you doing with flames? It's just so beautiful to look at. This film is gorgeous. It's stunning, and it is so awe-inspiring as someone who works in film, or even just someone who loves film, to watch this and see what people have put together on the. It literally boggles the mind to see how beautiful this film looks.
And the great thing is the things that made the first one such a standout, for me anyway, was how uniquely it brought the experience of reading a comic book onto the screen. You had sort of double exposure, or sort of on things on screen, which referencing the imperfect printing of comic books back in the 50s, when you'd have things slightly off center, using the sort of the colored dots, because that's how they printed color on the old comic books. All of those little references were still there, although toned down a little bit, I think, in this one. But
there are some that I think are toned up. I love and this is something that, as a comic fan yourself, I know that you'll recognize, especially from Spider-Man and Marvel Comics, the little pop-up boxes that explain things. Because, you get that all the time. You're reading a comic, and because you have to read like a million issues for anything to make sense. You'll get this little pop-up explaining what happened like 100 issues ago. And you're that's handy. That's nice. I don't need to Wikipedia
Spider-Man
anymore.
Issue blah 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 blah.
Yeah. So I loved those little pop-ups. Maybe they were in the first one. I just don't remember them. But they're quite frequent in this one.
But I did notice them this time round. But as you say, in the first one, we obviously had different animation styles for Spider-Man Noir and Spider-Ham, etc., referencing the styles in their respective books. And then, because now we're visiting the worlds of, it's so much bigger, because rather than just having the different characters, you've now going through entire worlds that are in that style, which was just amazing.
Yeah. Let's talk, while we're talking characters, you mentioned Spider-Man 2099 earlier, and you kind of stopped yourself from calling him the antagonist, because this film does do a bit of a switch around about halfway through the film, it becomes almost an entirely different film, and then it kind of switches back towards the end to kind of lead to what's going to happen in Beyond. But our main antagonist, the Spot, where are you on the Spot? How did you feel about him as the kind of big bad, I guess, especially leading towards?
I remember he was around back when I was reading, because Spider-Man was one of the characters that I probably read almost more than any other than
same. Spider-Man was always
things.
the one I kept up on when I was buying comics.
I've got hundreds of Amazing Spider-Man, Spectacular Spider-Man, etc.
Yeah, same.
I kind of bowed out before they brought in a lot of the variants. So Spider-Man 2099 was after my time. I've sort of caught up on the character. Scarlet Spider, Ben Reilly, that Andy Samberg voices in this, who I thought was possibly the funniest thing in this film, was towards the end when Ben Reilly made more of an appearance. He was so funny. But those later iterations weren't around. It was always Peter Parker when I was reading, with the occasional injection of venom. But the number of references, and I don't even think multiple viewings would do it. You would need to sit down read up on almost creepy subreddit pages to get all of the different because when you get to the Spider Society, and it's like a Where's Wally page at times, and I guarantee they're all drawn from somewhere. It's just I've never seen a film that literally has too many Easter eggs for anyone to be able to pick up without sitting down and going through frame by frame and going, all right, up in the corner there, you've got that fat Spider-Man from Earth 5745 whatever. It's just astonishing.
Well, that's the I think you can really feel with this film. And, we've had it in the past. I think that Gunn showed it with the comic book films that he's made. I think, Jon Favreau, I think obviously was a big comic fan, but I think you can really feel when you're watching this film that both Lord and Miller, as well as the new directors of this one, Joaquim Dos Santos,
three of them, I think,
Kemp Powers, and Justin K. Thompson, three. You can really feel that these guys all genuinely have love for the source material and want to do it well. Which says a lot, because there are plenty of films out there where people just make adaptations. Look at the last season of Game of Thrones. You can tell that the money became more important to them than the art of adapting this story. Whereas here, I think you can really feel that they want to adapt this story really well and keep it very true to at least the style of the comics. And it's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely stunning. And
I was a big fan of The Spot. I thought The Spot was great.
It worked really well on film.
Yeah.
I can picture covers and stories in Amazing Spider-Man with The Spot where you had the black discs and you had arms coming out from the left and the right and whatever. But seeing that in an animated form, geez, that made for some great action.
Yeah.
And really clever stuff too, where Miles would just be getting struck out of left field and he'd go to do something and it wouldn't work because suddenly things would disappear or whatever. But then managing to web limbs coming out of different holes and tie them together and that sort of thing. Oh, fuck, it's so funny.
Yeah, and I thought the entire voice cast was great, but I really, really loved Jason Schwartzman, actually, as the Spot. I think that he did bring a certain level of... You do almost at certain points... He
handled the transition really well, because...
Yeah,
he starts out almost cartoonish, but he's like, you're not my nemesis, you're a villain of the week. You're But then, as he gets more and more... Not manic, but... more sinister, and his plans get grander, and... The voice changed over the course of the film, and by the time you got sort of towards the end, he was really quite a sinister presence. Where he started out almost cartoonish. He felt like something out of a Gunn's Suicide Squad or something.
Yeah, but I do think that it's perfect casting, because even towards the end when he is so sinister and there's something about the quality of Schwartzman's voice that is really sympathetic. Like, you still kind of, that you almost understand, like, you certainly feel like this guy has gone through something torturous.
Well, his existence would be horrific.
Yes, yeah. And
Like,
I think you,
this is
you
not
feel
like
that.
Dr. Connor's turning into the lizard or anything, you know.
Yeah.
It's not just that he's gone through, he cannot live in any sort of society. He can't interact with any sort of other people. He is completely cut off from everyone.
Yeah.
He lives outside the world now. He has literally lost everything, all because some kid threw a bagel at him.
Yeah, yeah.
I
agree,
can understand him being pissed off.
Yeah, same. And it is. It's like when that first comes up, that it was, throwing it comes off as a joke, as a bit of a gag, like, oh, you created me by throwing a bagel at me.
I do want to go back and watch the first one to see if that bagel scene is in there. I'm sure it is, but I'm keen to go back and watch it and just go, you're going to be a villain.
Yeah, no, I thought he was really great, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how this all wraps up. Like, let's, if we can, get over to the cliffhanger at the end, which I understand your critique about feeling like it went on a bit. I do get that. I was a little bit the same. When we got to about 15, 20 minutes before, I was like, this is going to be a cliffhanger. And you're right, from that point on, it was a little bit like the ending of Return of the King, where it felt like it just kept ending again and again and again.
He's woken up, laughing at me. Okay, you're done.
Yeah, it felt a little bit like that. I do get that. Where are you on how we ended things, on, kind of the alternate Miles and Uncle Aaron, and, Gwen Stacy being in the wrong universe, and how did you feel about all that?
It was all a tad convenient, I think. I mean, it's obvious. It was very carefully set up and drawn together to be this the good team and the bad team, and then you got Miles, and you. Yeah. It was a little bit neat, but by the same token, when Gwen's sort of there and suddenly, oh my god, it's fucking Spider-Man Noir, and it's anime Spider-Man, and it's even fucking the virtual reality chick who was running things in.
Yep.
Miguel's universe, and that group shot, much like the Avengers coming together in the first Avengers, it was a bit of a woohoo moment. It was kind of cool.
It was, yeah. I was excited.
I could have done with more Spider-Punk, though.
He was really, really fantastic. He was very funny.
Yeah, very, and when he sends Gwen the kind of cobbled together, bastardized quantum leap gauntlet thing, so that she can travel around. That was awesome. Yeah.
I agree. I hope we do see him in the next one.
I'm sure we will. You don't just get Daniel Kaluuya in for one film and then go, see ya. Here's the question, though. Because Spider-Man Noir was Cage, right, in the first one?
Yeah, yep.
Are we going to get Cage in the next one?
Absolutely we are.
He's back in the team?
We? Yeah.
That's
why wouldn't
cool.
we get Cage?
I hope we do.
Yeah, we're getting Cage. I think, and hopefully we're getting John Mulaney back as well as Spider-Ham.
Oh, God, it was Mulaney, wasn't it?
I love John Mulaney. I think that he's very funny.
I love John Mulaney. I went to see him live, as you know. But yeah. Spider-Ham I could have done without as a character. it was a bit too silly for the film, but Mulaney, I'll put up with him.
No. And I do understand why he wasn't so much in this one, because I agree, this one definitely had a bit of a darker tone. This wasn't
really
as
would
silly
have
and
felt
cartoony.
Uncomfortable having that character in this story, because the family drama was obviously doubled, because you had Gwen, you sort of got Gwen's origin story as well, which was good to see. And they really sort of ramped up the idea of the canon events, where every spider person has to have family members die, because suffering is what makes us who we are, and it's important for the greater good. Don't think about it too hard because it really unravels and doesn't make a lot of sense. But it made for some good pathos and some nice emotional beats within the movie.
Yeah, yeah. So all in all, how are you scoring Across the Spider-Verse?
Oh, it's got to be a 9.
Yeah, I'm a 9 out of 10.
Bloody good. Really
I think
even
I'll
if the
see this
story
again
was
in
dog
cinemas.
shit, it'd be an 8 just based on the visuals. But
those
everything
visuals.
about this is so well done.
Yeah, it
I'm
really
surprised that because it's not long. When have they said when the next one's going to drop? I don't. I'm assuming we're not going to wait another 5 years.
March 29, 2024. So less than a year
What?
away. Yeah, they must have
been doing them
working back to back. Yeah,
because the first one took them 5 years. This took them. I think we worked out about 5 years.
Yeah,
obviously they're not going to downgrade the visuals, so they must have been doing it all simultaneously, which is amazing.
Yeah, they must have. Yeah, that's incredible.
And how they made this for $100 million is fucking beyond me.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
It's a beautiful looking film, and honestly, a huge amount of work has gone into it. Like I said, the different mediums. It does help that technology has come so far. You know, I'm sure that you know this, but South Park even is created with Maya, which is top of the line 3D software. It's what everyone uses for visual effects, and they're using that to make it look like construction paper cutouts. Yeah. And I think they're using a very similar technique here, where it's more the textures and stuff that are doing all that artistic work.
You'd probably have a sense of this. Would they have had different houses doing different characters because the styles are so different?
I wouldn't have thought so.
And then someone just
Probably
compositing them together?
I wouldn't have thought so. They probably wouldn't have. No. That would not be a typical workflow. I mean, if they are doing that, then that's crazy, because reanimating they may have had. I mean, they definitely would have had different artists doing the design work on different characters, but they wouldn't have had different houses animating them. That would be way too much to cobble together, and with changes and stuff. Yeah, I can't see them doing that.
Because even the motion, they move differently. The frame rates appear different when they're on screen together. It's just crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's just beautiful work. God, I love this movie. I'll go see it again in the cinemas for sure.
I'm keen if I can get to it for sure, and I'll definitely be buying it and the last one, which I still haven't got. Both of them on 4K, and the next one.
Yeah.
Great score too. I'm sure you would have noticed. You're the score
beautiful.
guy.
I was just going to get to the score before we ended. Yeah. Really, really beautiful. Very touching. I loved this movie. Everything about it is fantastic. Well, there you go. That's a hard recommend from us. This
has got to be my number one of the year so far.
Yep.
I can't think of anything that I've enjoyed more or that I thought was better made. I think this is the pinnacle of films this year.
Yeah. Agreed. Mate, I realised too, we forgot to do some plug-in last week. I just want to give a massive shout out to The Pint, to our good friend over there, John. And he had Stu from Stu World Order podcast on last week. And it's something a bit different. They counted down podcasts that they love, and we got a little bit of a feature, which was very lovely.
Gave us some love. We love John. Thank you, John.
We do love John. John's a great egg. You've got to record with John sometime, because
we're trying to line it up. We have been messaging back and forth. It will happen at some point.
Yeah,
I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Stu's show, Stu World Order, is a lot of fun too. I did Dick Tracy over on that show, which I'd never seen before, and that was an interesting watch, interesting discussion. Stu's a great guy. All right, what are we getting to next week, mate? On the back of this, what if we get to our top 5 comic book films?
I'll need a week to come up with that, but I'm game. I'm game.
I reckon we could. I think we could surprise each other. I think that mine will have very few heroes in it.
I'm going to need a week, actually, now that I think about it, because there's a lot of comic-based things that are not fucking MCU or DC.
Exactly.
Oh,
In fact,
good.
Okay, all right, this is going to be fun. That's next week. In the meantime, if you want to get in touch with us, you can do that at wewatchedathing.com or wewatchedathing@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all under the handle at wewatchedathing. If you want to help support the show, you can do that at patreon.com/wewatchedathing, and we'll catch you next week.
Give us a 5-star review somewhere, and then go watch Across the Spider-Verse.